A pleasant good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lewis Sports Network. It is your boy Lewis, and I am back once again with another heavy hitter banger with another live stream. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is good to be back. Hope everybody enjoyed their Easter weekend. Hope everybody is staying safe during this quarantine time. And like I always want to tell you guys, as always, the thing that we do here, we make sure we smash that like button. We make sure we hit that subscribe button. And we make sure that once again that we share the stream. So how's everybody doing tonight? Let me know who is in the chat. Let me know who is in the chat. We are doing Reggie Miller, a man who I felt is not overrated. Layla says already 5 likes already, loves. She says she loves it. And keep smashing that like, sub, and make sure everybody comes in. All right, no doubt, man. So I can't wait to see everybody. Already, shout out to Winetta Thomas. She says, hello, Lewis. Appreciate you. Hey, Winetta, how's everything with you? Hope everything's going well with you. Shout out to Joel Hayward, man. What is up, Joel? Appreciate you, man. Hope everything is going well with you, sir. Again, if you haven't, guys, make sure you smash that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button as you guys come in. Make sure you guys are sharing the stream. We are talking about Reggie Miller and why I felt like his career is not overrated, because people tend to pass him by, and I have reasons for that. All right, let me see if we continue to see more people to come in. All right, G Money says, hey bro, can't wait for the video. All right, Layla says, hey Winetta, hey Joel, making my bed and doing laundry. Shout out to G Money once again. Anthony L says, what's good? What's good to the chat? Appreciate Anthony L for coming through as well. Again, continue to smash that like, hit that subscribe, and make sure you guys are sharing the video. I want to get a couple of more people in here before I talk about Reggie Miller. You know, the Hall of Famer who I don't understand why people just disrespect him because he really wasn't that great of a player. G Money kind of get into the microcosm of what I was talking about. But we're going to get into some Reggie Miller stats. And we're going to talk about how important it is that we celebrate Reggie's career, because Reggie is actually one of the more underrated players in NBA history. Continue to smash that like button. We got 7 people watching. We got 8 likes, man. Like I said, for you Indiana Pacer fans, if you were a Reggie Miller fan, make sure to come through, man, because I'm going to definitely talk about why this guy's career deserves. Shout out to Godzilla Suplex. He says, what's up? And Winetta says, RIP to Cat's mom. Shout out to Omar Page, who says, hey, what's going on, brother? What's going on, everybody? And before I get started, I want to say rest in peace to Jacqueline Towns. Carl Anthony Towns' mom did pass away. Unfortunately, she was only 52 years old. She was in a coma for like almost a month, and she was on a ventilator because she had caught the COVID-19 and she was having problems breathing. Unfortunately, the COVID-19, because I can't get into specifics, or else YouTube will delete the video, because that's how YouTube is working right now. And apparently it caught her lungs. People were praying every day to hopefully she was able to recover, because Carl Anthony Towns' dad recovered, but unfortunately she did not, and she passed away earlier today. And I'm very sad because I know how Carl Anthony Towns takes pride in his country. The mom was Dominican, so it's like, boom. And like I said, I can relate in losing a family member, so it just lets you know right there, man. And I just wish the best of luck, and my prayers go out to Carl and the rest of the Towns family, especially the family from his mom's side too. I can't imagine what they're all going through right now. I don't even know if Cat's even going to want to continue the season if it was to come back, just because of where he's at right now. So yeah, that's crazy. We got 9 people liking. All right. Omar Page says, hey, what's good? Omar says, and the ones who are saying Reggie Miller's overrated, go F yourselves. G Money says Reggie Miller might have won the 2000 NBA Finals had Kobe not had that big game 4, or if Shaq didn't dominate the way he did. Okay. Rochelle News says, I respect Reggie Miller, never going outside of his game. He was nail thin and thrived in the contact-driven 90s era. RIP to Karl Anthony Towns' mom. Everybody's giving prayers. G Money says 2020 has been a bad year for us. Kobe's Gigi, Stern, and Cat's mom. RIP Big Cat's mom and everyone who suffered from this pandemic. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Like I said, man, this is a lesson for everybody to be taking care of themselves, and people out there are still not doing that. Let's see. Jimoni says NBA is doing a 25-day wait program to resume the season, but we will see Adam Silver's decision. I'm sorry, something like Karl Anthony Towns. Listen, you know what? At this point, I don't even really care if the season is to resume or if it's supposed to cancel. I really don't care at this point. I know what the NBA is trying to do for 2 specific reasons, and I'm not even going to get into it because it's not even about that. This is about Reggie Miller, so I'm going to talk about Reggie. I know what the NBA is trying to do. They can't fool me. I'll be uploading a video tomorrow, Colin Cowherd. So you guys stay tuned for that. And Anthony L says, Reggie Miller's whole family was talented. His sister had a big game too. I know his father was very strict. Cheryl, if it wasn't for her injuries, you're talking about one of the greatest women basketball players ever. But her injuries cut her career short. She had a lot of knee problems. Yes, I just mentioned that I did lose a family member. If you were paying attention, I said yes, I did. Omar says the NBA season needs to be canceled, and he's talking to G Money. Joel Hayward says Reggie Miller is in my top greatest 5 shooters of all time. No question about it. If you don't have Reggie Miller as one of your top 5 all-time greatest shooters of all time, I'm sorry, something's wrong with you. I mean, all right, let's run Reggie Miller's career, shall we? We're talking about a guy who scored over 25,000 career points. We're talking about a guy, and he did this while being primarily a shooter. And on occasion, he would drive through contact in the 90s. This guy, for his career, averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. How about the fact that he scored 25,000 points primarily as a shooter? If you look at NBA history among 2 guards, his 25,000 points are the 6th most in NBA history. And you have to understand that Reggie Miller was not athletic. Reggie Miller didn't have the biggest hands. Reggie Miller only drove right. He really couldn't drive left. He was very limited. He was a decent defender, average at best, but he was not great at defense. He had a skinny frame. But what did he make up for? His ability to shoot in big moments, his ability to shoot, period, his ability to shoot from the free throw line. Always played big. He played with effort. And then let's look at it this way. Reggie Miller was the Klay Thompson of his time. Reggie Miller was the Klay Thompson of his time. And remember, at the time that Reggie retired, he had made more regular season 3-pointers than any player in NBA history. And then if you combine his playoff threes, it's the same. Now, obviously, those records are going to be obliterated by Steph Curry, but let's look at his field goal percentage. Career 47% field goal shooter, a career 39.5% three-point shooter. He's 12th all-time in free throw shooting percentage at 88.8%. Because he wasn't a guy that was able to always finish through contact and he didn't drive as much, Reggie Miller didn't go to the free throw line a lot. He was 6'7" and he weighed 185 pounds listed. His effective field goal percentage. Well, let me just go into the accomplishments. He is in the Hall of Fame. He made 5 All-Star teams, and he made 3 All-NBA teams. So you can't say that Reggie Miller is – you can't really say he's overrated when he's made All-Star teams. It'd be something if Reggie didn't make an All-Star team or an All-NBA team and Reggie Miller, is in the Hall of Fame, because then you would have been like, what did he accomplish? And when you look at his effective field goal percentage, it's among the best in NBA history, and he has a higher effective field goal percentage. Check this out. Higher than Magic, higher than Jordan, higher than LeBron James, higher than Kobe Bryant. Just to name a few guys that his effective field goal percentage is higher than. Just to let you know that how he's not pretty much overrated, man. Let's see. We all have G-Money. I just lost my grandmother right before. Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. So sorry to hear that. My prayers are for you, Layla. Reggie was very clutch. Reggie is definitely top 5 among 2 guards. Greatest shooters. I agree with that list. Only because I would only put Klay Thompson over Drazen just because Klay's played longer. I would have had Drazen over him if he had a longer career had it not been for his car accident in '93. Because Drazen Petrovic he's definitely among the top 5 shooters in NBA history. It's just unfortunate he was not able to be alive after he died in '93 because he had a very short career. Reggie Miller is definitely a top 5 shooter in NBA history. G-Money says, what is one Reggie Miller game that stands out to you? The first one that comes to my mind is 1994, Madison Square Garden, Game 5, Reggie Miller against the Knicks in the '94 Eastern Conference Finals. Struggling through 3 quarters. That was the game that he went at it with Spike Lee on the sidelines. Reggie Miller had 25 points in the 4th quarter. 2-2 series. The game brought a lot of drama. Reggie Miller scores 39 for the game. He was unconscious, and he puts the infamous choke sign on Spike Lee after Game 5 and gives the Pacers a 3-2 lead. That was one of my standout moments for Reggie. Let me know the moments that you guys have on your all-time Reggie's list. I don't have many. I'm comfy with taking my last shot, but Reggie was top 5. Cool, that's fine. I would say top 3. In my opinion, I say Ray Allen and Reggie are better shooters than Steph Curry. You could make the case. Because I think Steph is by far better than them at the 3-point line. But I think as overall shooters, because Reggie and Ray Allen utilize more mid-range shots than Steph Curry really did in his career. Steph is a great 3-point shooter, but he isn't a great mid-range shooter. That is why he isn't the greatest shooter ever. And that's what I keep telling people. With all due respect to Steph Curry, he's capable of shooting mid-range shots, but he doesn't take that many. So if you take away his 3s, he'll try to drive to the basket. But Steph Curry doesn't take a lot of mid-range shots. That's why I was telling you guys that when Klay Thompson took more mid-range shots, it was really helping his game because he has something to go to. So if his 3s didn't fall, he could count on the mid-range. I told you, it's a reason why Klay shot a career high in the NBA Finals this past season. Excuse me. G-Money says, I like Curry, but I also think Kobe Bryant is a better shooter than Curry. That's tough. I don't know about that. Omar says, I got the same, but I put Klay over Drazen at 4 and Drazen's at 5. Yeah, it's just because Drazen didn't play that long. Layla says the 8 points. 8 points in 9 seconds. Oh, that was another classic. Keep smashing that like, guys. Spike Lee was on hush hush. I know, but he ultimately got to talk after Game 7. G-Money says my favorite Reggie Miller was the 25 he had in MSG in the 95 playoffs. Another one of my favorites was when Reggie pushed off of Michael and hit that go-ahead 3-pointer that put them up 2 in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals in '98 against the Bulls that went 7 games. The choke sign. That's right, the choke sign. My favorite was the 8 points in 9 seconds and that choke sign. Curry is the greatest three-point shooter ever, but not the greatest shooter ever because he doesn't have a great mid-range game. Doesn't take enough, man. Uh-oh, Louis, that sneeze. I'm all good. Don't worry about it. Nothing to fear. Keep smashing that like and subscribe. Klay is a good shooter, but he's not a better shooter than Curry because he's too inconsistent. I would say Klay's a better mid-range shooter than Curry. Reggie Miller, clutch player, but his was facing Kobe and MJ, two all-time greats. Yeah, it's funny. Both of those guys prevented Reggie from winning championships. The difference is one has Scottie Pippen, the other one has Shaq. All right, so we continue looking at the stats. His PER is 18.4, which is not bad for somebody who primarily shoots, and his win shares is crazy. He has a higher win shares for his career than Kobe Bryant. That's crazy. Didn't know he had a higher. So if we look at Reggie's career, Reggie averaged 20 points or more. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reggie has 6 seasons where he averaged 20 points or more in 94, 95, 97, and 98, and 98, 99, and 2000 and 2001. So Reggie could have had 10 seasons where he could have scored 20 points per game. So Reggie was a solid scorer. You know, I don't understand why people get on Reggie. For Reggie's career, he scored 25,279 points. Let's see, where is his true shooting percentage? Trying to look for that. That would be the TS stat. That might be the advanced stat, which would be, that would be, not even per 100 possessions, no. Trying to look for that real quick. Here we go, advanced. His true shooting percentage for his career, 61.4. 61.4 is his true shooting percentage, ladies and gentlemen. True shooting percentage is when you combine 2-pointers, 3-pointers, and free throws. And you're pretty much divided by 3. That lets you know what your true shooting percentage is when you combine your 2-point field goals, 3-point field goals, and free throws. And those are all by percentages. Reggie has a 61.4 true shooting percentage in NBA. That's third best in NBA history, guys. Okay? And people need to understand the era he played in. Hold on. Let me see. He does have a bit of a shooting form than Curry. That's top 5 list of greatest shooters, no doubt. Ola Raduni. Klay has a better shooting form than Curry. Crazy disrespect is what all players that played in MJ's era. He ruined so many careers. And the thing is with MJ, because he stood out among the very best in NBA history in the modern NBA era in the 80s and 90s, a lot of guys get overlooked, and Reggie Miller is one of those guys. Like I said, Reggie Miller may have had limited footwork, but in terms of his ability to move in motion, he's difficult to guard because he doesn't stand still. He moves, he back cuts. See, that's why I put Reggie ahead of the run-of-the-mill three-point jump shooters. Reggie has shown he has to be accounted for. His style is relentless. Exactly. Emmanuel says, if Reggie Miller's so great, how come he couldn't stop Ron Artest from fighting a fan? Well, I mean, to be honest with you, that was kind of tough because it was like he wasn't. That was a very difficult situation, though. That was difficult. And the thing is, if you honestly watch that clip, Ron Artest was fine. Ron Artest leaped over the seat, and Steven Jackson came and he was just pretty much hitting everybody else, and it got pretty ugly out there. So they had to get Ron Artest to get out of there, and it was becoming a young man's game. That's just a really tough position. I mean, eventually Reggie did get him out, but that's kind of hard to, to criticize Reggie for. Another underrated Miller game was when he dropped 35 in Game 4 in 2000 versus the Lakers, but nobody talks about that game because Kobe and Shaq have phenomenal performances. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think if the Pacers would have won and tied the series at 2 apiece in that game 4, I think Reggie's performance would have been more talked about. Reggie had 3 30-point games in the NBA Finals. They were all at home because he struggled in game 1. He shot better in game 2. Games 3 through 5, he was great. And then game 6, he was okay. And Joel says, if you put Reggie in this era, it's child's play. Talk a man run away like child's play. And I'm in a whoa, whoa, whoa. At least he led his team to 4 conference finals. Actually, no, Raduni. He didn't lead them to 4. The Pacers, I believe, let's see, 94, 95, 98, 99, 2000. Reggie Miller led the Pacers to 5 Eastern Conference Finals from 94 to 2000. Now, Reggie Miller obviously was not the best player on his team anymore by 2004 when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2004, which was their 6th trip. But from 94 to 2000, Reggie Miller led the Pacers to 5 Eastern Conference Finals from the mid to late 90s and then into 2000, and he led them to the NBA Finals. Another game that doesn't get talked about is the 34 points that he had in Game 6 of 2000 against the New York Knicks, and he had 17 points in the 4th quarter to close out the Knicks in Game 6 in the 2000 Eastern Conference Finals. G-Money says, in your opinion, had the Pacers beat the Knicks in the 99 Eastern Conference Finals, do you think they beat the Spurs in the NBA Finals? No. They don't beat them. Because who's going to stop Tim Duncan? They don't have an answer for Tim Duncan. And remember, David Robinson can just roam and beat Bill Russell. So the mismatch is going to be inside. I mean, Sean Elliott does have a tough matchup, but I think guarding Michael is obviously more difficult than guarding Reggie Miller. Not saying that Reggie is not hard to guard, because he is when it comes to just moving. But remember, Reggie Miller gets open a lot, mostly to shoot. There, occasionally he could put the ball on the floor if he gets the right matchup, because Reggie Miller was not fast. But Reggie Miller was he's had solid skills. But like I said, for him to score 25,000 points, 6th all-time among shooting guards, that's saying something. Again, guys, smash the like button and hit that subscribe button for your boy, Louis Sports Network. We're talking about Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller, Thriller in Manila, Reggie Miller. One of the most clutch players of his generation. Now, let me ask y'all a question. And let me tell you right now, Layla says, have played. Reggie was skinny as hell. Ron was a beast. Yeah, Ron was a strong 260, man. What does that have to do with what we're talking about? Exactly, Moneta. Keep smashing that like. It was because a fan threw B on Ron, and Ron got upset and ran into the stands. There was no way Reggie was going to stop him. To try to pull Ron Artest, you're going to need a couple of people. You can't, we're talking about Reggie's underrated basketball career. You're connecting something that, it happened on the court, but that had everything to do with Ron Artest. G-Money says also, Miller was super clutch versus the Nets in Game 5 in the first round in 2002. He nailed a buzzer-beating 3, and he had a vicious slam to send the game to multiple overtimes. That was another Reggie Miller classic. I mean, you also could talk about the 41 points that Reggie Miller had in Game 5 against the Milwaukee Bucks when he went against his contemporary rival for a little bit, couple of years, Ray Allen. 2 of the greatest shooters of all time going up against each other. So Joel Hayward says Reggie played in a tough Eastern Conference in the 90s when you had to earn it instead of being handed to you. See, that's the thing that I want to get to right now. Reggie Miller, look at his opponents from 1990 all the way to 1990 all the way until 2000, just for that matter. He went up against the Detroit Pistons in his first playoff appearance, the defending champions, who ended up winning the NBA championship. 1991, they went up against the Boston Celtics. Obviously, not the same Boston Celtics of Robert, Parrish, McHale, and Bird, especially due to Bird with his injuries, but, still a tough team and with home court advantage. Let's see. Also, yeah, Reggie Miller was very good with his trash talk, but he knew who to do it to too. That's the thing. He knew who to do it to. I was thinking about John Starks when him and Miller would go at it. That was one of my favorite matchups. One of my favorite matchups to ever watch between the Pacers and the Knicks. So yeah, like Joel Hayward said, he played in a tough Eastern Conference. So then we go to 92, I believe the Pacers didn't make the playoffs. Then you have 1993, they played the 60-win New York Knicks, right? So they played the 60-win New York Knicks. 94, they played the Knicks again, 57 wins, Eastern Conference Finals. 1995, they beat the Knicks in the semis, and they played the 57-win Orlando Magic next year. Young Shaq, young Penny. Bro, come on, dog. Then 1996, they went up against a very good Atlanta team that had Mookie Blaylock, Steve Smith. The people remember that team? The Kemi Mutombo, Christian Laettner? That was a solid team. The Atlanta Hawks were a solid team in the mid-90s. If you take away from 90, I would say from 95 to 99, the Hawks were good. They were good. They were good teams. Then you have 97. They failed to make the playoffs. And it's funny because Reggie only missed the playoffs twice in that decade. Then you have 98. I mean, he had his great season, 58 wins. Larry Bird as their coach. They go up against the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Against the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Michael Jordan. The Last Dance. Yes, that season. And they went 7. And the Pacers could have won that series. As a matter of fact, they should have won that series. They didn't have Michael Jordan, but the Pacers were actually the better team. It's just what beat them. The will of MJ, the will of the Bulls, and their refusal to lose. And to be honest, Reggie Miller's problem, if you watch that series, Reggie Miller he did not play well on the road. I mean, I know he was injured with his ankle, but Reggie Miller's best performances were at home, not on the road in that series. Watchful News says, we could go on and on about eras, but I will argue a player's impact during their era, and I mean true impact, not just fans or media hype, it would be a hoop. Facts. Yes. Yes. You kind of repeat the same things that I did, yes. And they still saying that the man is overrated and didn't do nothing special. Oh, that's a fact, Raduni. That's why I'm giving Reggie Miller his respect. The reason that Reggie Miller doesn't get respect is because he's overshadowed by a lot of all-time greats that played in the 90s, okay? Just because he wasn't flashy, just because Reggie Miller wasn't dominant, doesn't mean that Reggie Miller wasn't good. Reggie Miller, if you needed a bucket in the clutch, Reggie could help you. And Reggie was known in the playoffs to have big scoring quarters. He was known for that. And people tend to overlook that. Emmanuel says, if Reggie joined the Nets or the Pistons, he would have had a better legacy. Are you talking about if he was with the 2002 Nets? Are you talking about the Pistons of 2003 or 2004? I mean, if you really look at the Detroit Pistons, they lacked a consistent score. Yeah, they were able to win team ball. They played together, dominant defensively. But if they have a go-to perimeter player, they could have won. Reggie would have definitely helped space the floor, but it's when you need someone who could get you consistent baskets like in a hurry. Reggie did it with his shooting, but it has to come in certain circumstances with the way the offense is run. And like I said, Reggie Miller picks his spots on how he scored. Oh, how about this? How about the game against the 2001 Philadelphia 76ers, where Iverson had 45, Reggie Miller had 41, and in a very low-scoring game, the Sixers led by double digits in that game, and Reggie Miller hits the game-winning three-pointer, the go-ahead three-pointer, to put them up 1, and in stunning fashion, beat the number 1 seed Sixers in Game 1 of the 2001 first-round playoffs. It's crazy how that one came to my mind. So, people don't really talk about that enough. So let me continue in the comments. I like Reggie Miller's trash talk, one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. Miller had that 41-point game. Yep, Reggie was in the beastly East back then. It was bad inside and out the gym. Indiana had a squad. Indiana had very good teams, very good defensive teams. They just ran into much more talented teams in their time. Sometimes talent and depth. I would say that their 98 team was their deepest team. I think Damian Lillard will have a better career than Reggie Miller. I mean, Damian Lillard's more of a scorer. So Reggie Miller's not really a scorer. He's more of a shooter. But the fact that Reggie but to be honest with you, he was a solid scorer because he nearly had 10 seasons of averaging 20. He had 6 20-point game seasons. His career high in scoring was he averaged 24.6, and that was in Reggie's 3rd season. Reggie was 24 at the time. He averaged 24.6 points per game. Like I said, 3-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. You can't say that the guy was a scrub. Again, keep smashing that like and hitting that subscribe, y'all. Watchful News says, imagine Braun having to face Jordan every year in the Eastern Finals. Exactly. Who? Yeah, that's my problem with LeBron. I hate when they glorify all of the great performances that, listen, don't get me wrong, LeBron has balled out. I mean, ESPN came out with a stat today about how LeBron is 6-2 in career Game 7s. He went 0 for 2 his first 2 times in the playoffs in the mid-2000s with his Cavaliers, and then he went 6-0 after that. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't change the fact that LeBron has 3 championships and 6 losses. You're still hitting 3 for 9. You're still shooting 3 for 9. That doesn't mean anything for me. It's I just noticed that a lot of these networks, man, and the LeBron fanboys and fangirls, they want to keep trying to override these stats to try to see if they can cover up that 3-6 finals record, and it can't change that. It cannot. The Nets, those are losers. Well, I mean, at the time that they were winning. 2000, yeah. He could have helped, but you saw how they took care of the Lakers easy. Miller was killing the Bulls in Game 7 for 3 quarters, but the Bulls shut him down in the 4th. If he kept firing, Pacers would have beat the Bulls in Game 7. Facts at Watchful, they would be underrated. LeBron right now. It's true. Bro, I'm the biggest Pacer fan. Come on now. But that's why I'm doing Reggie Miller, man, to show his respect. Anthony L says, can you talk more about Reggie upbringing and how good he was leading into the pros? Now, here's the thing about Reggie Miller. So Reggie Miller's from Riverside, California. Obviously, he has an older sister in Cheryl. Reggie Miller had to pretty much make his game through shooting. I know his father, when they practiced at home, because I watched a little bit of Reggie Miller's upbringing. There is a documentary. I don't remember the name of it. I'm gonna have to look that up, and then if I do, when I come up with a future video, I will definitely show it. I mean, there's another one called Winning Time. That was a 30 for 30, and they were showing mostly Reggie's career against the Knicks. So Reggie going to UCLA. He grew up a Lakers fan, so he wanted to obviously play with Magic Johnson. Now, answer this question, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if Reggie Miller somehow were to be drafted by the Lakers coming out of UCLA. What would have that done for Reggie's career? Because Reggie Miller's rookie season was the 87-88 season. He was drafted in 87. And if y'all remember, the Lakers won the NBA championship that year. People tend to forget that too. Reggie Miller definitely I'm trying to figure out what was his pick. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about him. I'm trying to remember what pick he was. And remember, for those who don't know his real name, even though it's called Reggie, his real name is Reginald Wayne Miller. Reginald Wayne Miller. He is a Virgo. Oh wow, his birthday is one day after Kobe's. Wow, look at that. Riverside, California. 6'7", 195 pounds. He went from UCLA. He actually spent all 4 years in college from 1983 to 1987. He was the number 11th pick in the NBA draft, selected by the Indiana Pacers. Played 18 years in the NBA with one franchise, and that's another thing I give Reggie Miller credit for playing his whole career with the Indiana Pacers, even though originally he didn't know where Indiana was and he didn't want to play there. So people also forget that Reggie Miller, when he was younger, he had hip deformities. So he had a hard time walking correctly. So I don't know if anybody knew that about Reggie Miller, but Reggie Miller had hip deformities. So it was very difficult for him to walk when he was a young boy. He's one of 5 siblings. He had to wear braces on both legs because his hip deformities were on both sides. So he had to wear braces on both legs. So after like about a few years, I believe he wore them for about, 4 to 5 years. After the 4 to 5 years that he wore them, that was definitely when, Reggie sustained at least good enough strength in his legs to be able to walk normal. I forgot that Reggie Miller is an Olympian. Can't forget that. So going through his career highlights, in 94, he made the 50-40-90 club. That's another thing, guys. 50-40-90. And look at this. Reggie Miller was able to get 4,000 rebounds and 4,000 assists playing the 2 guard as a shooter. I think that's pretty good. I mean, he won the Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award in 2004. His number 31 is retired by the Indiana Pacers. 3rd-team All-American in UPI in 86. He made the Pac-10 first team twice, back-to-back years. His jersey's retired by the Bruins, and he was Male Athlete of the Year for USA Basketball in 2002. And like I said, he is an Olympic gold medalist on the 1996 Olympic team that went to Atlanta when the games were in Atlanta. That what people call that team Dream Team 2. Do people remember Dream Team 2? So Reggie's one of 5 siblings, obviously athletic family. His brother Daryl was a former catcher for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. His sister Tammy was a volleyball player at California State Fullerton, and obviously Cheryl, who's in the Hall of Fame, obviously was one of the greatest women basketball players of all time, and she won Olympic gold in the '84 Olympics. And she obviously is a current analyst for Turner Sports. So people forget that Cheryl always used to kick Reggie's butt one-on-one basketball games, before Reggie started playing professionally, going through high school and then going to college and into the pros. So according to Reggie Miller, they actually stopped playing each other when he blocked one of her shots. So when he blocked one of Cheryl Miller's shots was when they actually stopped playing against one another. And also Reggie Miller's shot, if people look at Reggie's shooting motion, it's very unorthodox because his elbow is extended far more out than what normal shooters would shoot. And usually when people tell you to shoot, people want to say that you keep your elbow in line with your arm and you're aiming for the center of the rim when you shoot the basketball. The key thing with Reggie is that Reggie maintains good rotation on his shot. So that's the key, that even though it's awkward, Reggie Miller can still knock it down with ease. So for him to shoot awkwardly and for him to still be one of the greatest shooters of all time, can you imagine if Reggie shot normal and not unorthodox? My gosh. Let me just go into the comments real quick before I talk about his UCLA career. Had 29.7 assists to eliminate the Knicks. Yep. Oh, I got to talk about Patrick Ewing. Yep, I agree with Delbert Dooney. I have a feeling he watched a lot of Reggie Miller. Reginald is a unique name. You know who also is named Reginald? For those who, if you're a baseball fan and you watch the Yankees, if you saw him play in Oakland and you saw him play with the California Angels, I'm talking about Reggie Jackson. His real name is also Reginald, and they called him Reggie. So that's Reggie Jackson's real name, Reginald. So Emmanuel said, who did they draft instead of Reggie? I have to figure it out, but I'm pretty sure the Lakers were one of the last picks in that 87 draft because they were the champions. So I got to see. Let me check who the Lakers picked. Okay, that was in New York City. Okay, where were the Lakers? Actually, the Lakers, that's funny. The Lakers weren't even in the draft. Oh, that's crazy. Huh. The Lakers weren't even in the draft in 87. I think the rules of the draft were different back then. And unless if the Lakers didn't have any picks. Yeah, Reggie was drafted by Indiana. The Lakers were not. Yeah, the Lakers did not draft anybody. That's crazy. And Yusuke says that would have been awesome to watch. Yeah, it's crazy. My first fiance was a Virgo. Reginald, who would do that to their kid? Reggie, probably the greatest pacer ever. I think he's the greatest pacer ever. Keep smashing that like. Reggie does not use any wasted energy out. He never gets outside his game. I studied that about him. Yeah, Reggie stays within himself. That's what I watched about him. He never tries to get out of his comfort zone. Reggie knows what his strengths are, and he sticks to that. He never tries to do anything different. She did. He hated that. Ugly shot. He was Harden with the kick, but Lonzo Ball with the ugly shot. But still one of the greatest shooters of all time. Weird. They probably traded their picks. I would have thought so, but didn't happen. Okay, so going to Reggie's UCLA career. Going to his UCLA career. So Reggie had another brother also. His name is Sal. He ended up going to the military. And he ended up becoming a musician and went to the military. So I didn't know that. So Reggie Miller went to the University of California. He got a bachelor's degree in history. He helped the Bruins to the NIT championship in 84-85. In his senior season, he went to the All Pac-10. He did it. He went 2 straight years, as I mentioned. He led the Bruins to their first Pac-10 conference championship. And they said that in the 86-87 season, when they instituted for the three-point field goal percentage for the three-point line, 69 of Reggie's 247 field goals made were from the three-point line that year. They said that one of his most memorable performances was in the January 24th, 1987 game against Notre Dame, where he hit a clutch 24-foot, 7.3 7.3-meter shot to put the Bruins ahead 62-59 with 10 seconds left. Another notable game was a win against the defending national champion Louisville and Purvis Ellison on February 87. He scored 33 in the second half, which is still a school record. His final game, he lost in the Division I basketball tournaments in Wyoming. So he was, at the time when he retired from there, he was second all-time in UCLA in scoring, only behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And so it says as of 2009, he still holds the UCLA single-season record for most league points, highest league scoring average, and the most free throws. So I'm guessing that's free throws made. He also holds several individual game records. So it says that UCLA ended up retiring his jersey in 2013, and he was inducted into the Pac-12 Conference Hall of Honor in 2010. And like I said, in the 87 draft, he was drafted number 11 by the Indiana Pacers. Let's see. That's a good point. Shout out to Godzilla in the building. I mean, Reggie could have tried those things, but he was, I guess for Reggie, it was because he didn't, I'm guessing for him, it was because he was probably limited in things that he could do, I guess, to try to be a better overall player. Okay, so people forget that when Reggie Miller first was on the team, he played with guys like LaSalle Thompson, Vern Fleming. Chuck Person was actually their go-to player. Rick Smith was there early. There was Def Left Shrimp. So Reggie Miller was just like part of the team. But what happened was in the 1992 offseason, Chuck Person got traded from the Pacers in the 92 offseason. So when he got traded, Reggie Miller became the primary scorer for the Indiana Pacers. So he was their go-to player. And he had a career high on November 28th, 1992, where he went up against the Charlotte Hornets in a regular season game. And Reggie Miller it was crazy. He had a career high, and it was 57 points. He got those 57 points on 29 shots, 16 of 29 from the field. He was solid from the three-point line, 4 of 11, and he made 21 out of 23 free throws. And let me put the 57 points into perspective, guys. Did you know that those points he scored were the second highest in the 92-93 season? It was the second highest point total in the season to Michael Jordan, who scored 64 points on January 16th of 1993. Let's see. It says Reggie was probably the best catch and shoot guys ever. No dribble to lead a team, not to be the third man. Wait, it says try to finish cleaning up. What are you up to? Name all of the players drafted before Reggie in 87, and which player in that list would you switch in order to win a championship? Good question. Let's go back to that 87 draft. All right, let's go back. So, all right, for your first pick, the Spurs chose David Robinson out of Navy. But remember, He didn't start his season 2 years later because he was in the Navy. Then you have Armand Gilliam. He was chosen second for the Phoenix Suns. I believe he played, I think it was 14 seasons he played in the NBA. He bounced around the league a lot. The third pick was Dennis Hobson to the New Jersey Nets. I remember Reggie Williams. He was drafted by the Clippers at the number 4 pick. Oh, wow. Scottie Pippen was the 5th pick from the Seattle Supersonics. And remember, he was traded for Olden Polynice when Pippen went to Chicago. And Olden Polynice went to Seattle. Kenny Smith was the number 6 pick from Sacramento. And at the time, Bill Russell was the coach. At the 7th pick was Kevin Johnson for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Crazy. He could have been the backup for Mark Price. I'm just saying. Olden Polynice, obviously I just talked about. He was the 8th pick from Chicago. He was from Haiti. Derek McKee, who was actually a pretty good player, solid player before his skills kind of diminished in the mid-90s. But from the late 80s to early, I want to say to the mid-90s, Derek McKee was actually pretty good. He was underrated. Horace Grant was the 10th pick, and he was drafted by Chicago. So you answer me this, guys. Who would you trade for Reggie Miller if you were to trade and win a championship from those players? The obvious one looks like Scottie Pippen. I would have said David Robinson, but remember, he went to the Navy for 2 years. All right, as we continue to the comments, Layla says, quickest shot I've ever seen. Reggie was ahead of the game because he found out he had to be dangerous whenever he caught the ball, no dribble, and launched with a bucket in his wheelhouse. Facts. Smashing. No, I think the GM should do better. He could play in the game today. True toughness and grit. Oh, agreed. Good day to everyone. Good day to you, Tari. What do you think his averages would be in today's game? Well, if Reggie could give you a consistent 20 points in the 90s, I'm looking at 25, maybe 26 points. I would say 25 to 27 in today's game. LeBron, Layla, pretty much. I think Klay's dad, being a former player, may have had Klay study Reggie's style because Klay is that way now. Did Reggie ever win a championship? No, he did not. G Money says, nah, he didn't win one. Not surprised. At least 23 because he knew how to draw fouls. Well, he averaged 24. And he says, no, he never won. Reggie would average 20 to 25 in today's era. He already averaged 24 in the 90s one time. So if he could do that, I say 25 to 26. In today's 20 to 30, I'll take Scottie Pippen all day. I think Klay Thompson mirrors Reggie Miller's game. I think so too. Watchful says, I see Miller's style of play evolving to a Klay Thompson as the game has reinvented itself. It's a fast break, mid-range, rim running, ISO ball. You could even take away mid-range. It's really more so fast break, 3-point, drive to the basket, running ISO ball. Miller might have averaged 30. I don't know about 30. I say 20, 26 at most. I say 26 is most. 30 is asking a little too much. See, because when you look at a guy like Jordan, What did Jordan have? He had speed and he had strength. So you take that prime Jordan with that mid-range shot, he's already got an advantage with his speed, with his strength. And then you add his skill set. That's why Jordan would easily, if he averaged 37 in a tough era, yeah, I would say 25, 26. 25, 26. And what would be a great team for him to play in today's game? That's a good question. Let me know in the chat. What team do you think would be great as an opponent for Reggie Miller to go up against in today's NBA? That's a good question. Good question, Raduni. Emmanuel says, I think Reggie gets his game from Klay Thompson, the way he catches and shoots. I think you mean the other way around. Because remember, Reggie played before Klay did. So Klay gets it from Reggie. Ryan says, if Malice at the Palace didn't happen, the Pacers would have beaten the Lakers in the 04. Well, actually, you mean 2005. But the thing was, the Lakers, the problem is that the Lakers, they lost Shaq that year, Ryan. So, and the Lakers failed to make the playoffs. All right, Winetta says if Miller was on today's Bucks team, it would be no contest. Actually, he would actually be an upgrade over Chris Middleton because he would be a go-to player down the stretch that can give you big baskets. Reggie actually would be great. So that's a very, very good point, Winetta. He would actually be very good for the Bucks. You put a prime Reggie Miller next to Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially in the fourth quarter. Oh, yeah. Adonai says he would be unguardable. He would be hard to guard. I wouldn't say unguardable, because when you're unguardable, that means nobody can stop you. You might be unguardable for like a game or so and all that, but I mean, like I said, you got to respect the way Reggie played, you know, despite the fact that he was limited offensively in terms of having, like, if he had strength and speed, I think Reggie would have had more advantages. If he was stronger, Reggie Miller could have done so much more. But like I said, he made his game comfortable, and he was able to do it for 18 years. And that I admire and I respect, you know. And like I said, his career gets overlooked because of the great players he played against in his era. And he ran into some great teams. You look at Shaq and Kobe, got in his way. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen got in his way. The Orlando Magic got in his way in the conference finals in '95. The New York Knicks got in his way in '94 with Patrick Ewing. So, and then don't forget the '99 Knicks, who were the 8th seed. Indiana, they choked that series because they should have played better. There was no excuse for them. They were the better team, and they got outplayed by the Knicks. The Knicks just played with a road of momentum. Again, man. G-Money says that Malice in the Palace didn't happen. Do you think they beat the Spurs in 2005? I give the Pacers a great shot. They were arguably the most talented team in the league, other than the Miami Heat. Well, mostly the Miami Heat were mostly, in terms of talent, it was Shaq and Wade. More so Wade because Shaq was already on the decline. But in terms of, like, they had listen, they had the best forward in Ron Artest defensively. And this is before LeBron is even in his prime or whatnot. They had the best post-up player in the game, arguably in Jermaine O'Neal. People sleep on Jermaine O'Neal, but he's another underrated player. So they sleep on him. They had Al Harrington off the bench. They had Steven Jackson. So they had some athleticism on their team. Like, people really don't understand how good that those 2004 and 2005 Pacers were. They were one of the better defensive teams in the league. It's just Malice in the Palace ruined everything for them. It ruined everything. Ryan says 2004 was the Pistons and the Lakers, same year as the Malice in the Palace. Yeah, but the Malice in the Palace happened at the start of the 2004-2005 season. That didn't happen during the 2004 because 2004, as you said, Pistons, Lakers, that was in the NBA Finals. The Palace that year was Reggie retiring. Peyton and Malone were on the Lakers that year. Yeah, but that was 03-04, not 04-05. The Malice in the Palace happened on November 19th, 2004. Remember, the NBA Finals are in June of 2004. So that's where you're making the mistake, Ryan. I understand what you're trying to say, though. But no, Reggie Miller retired in 2005, the 04-05 season. That's right. Running around screens with that shot. Emmanuel says, peace, much love. All right, peace to you, Emmanuel. Be safe, bro. G-Money says if Reggie Miller was on the Clips instead of PG, Clips would win the chip because you have two clutch players in Kawhi and Reggie and a great coach in Doc Rivers. The thing with Reggie, he can take over the game with his shooting. Yes, November 19th. That's when, yeah, exactly. Adonai, he did not need speed and strength. No, I said he could have done more. That's what I was saying. Like, he could have done more. And I think Reggie was more talked about. But like I said, Reggie made his name against the Knicks in the playoffs. Remember, we have Miller time. This is one of my underrated nicknames of Reggie Miller that doesn't get talked about. Killer Miller. I actually like that. I like that one. Killer Miller. It's Miller time. Has anybody had Miller Lite? I don't know. Maybe if you drink it, it made you shoot like Reggie. He played in a tough era. That's facts. Again, guys, continue to smash the like button, hit that subscribe. Correct, Ryan. November 19th, 2004. That was the start of the 2004-2005 season, though. The NBA Finals was in June of 2004. That was still finishing the 03-04 season. G-Money says, in your opinion, had the Pacers made the NBA Finals in 94 and 95, do you think they beat the Rockets in either year? Well, let's see. They didn't have Mark Jackson until 95, until the 94 offseason. Because Mark Jackson played for both the Clippers and the Nuggets. I'm trying to think. I remember in 94, I think the Pacers had the best record in the NBA, I think, after the All-Star break. So they were playing red hot. That's tough. But I think that the Rockets beat them because Indiana has a good defense, but they have a mismatch in a few areas already. The center position is where they get killed. They get killed in the center position with Hakeem. As a matter of fact, let me ask y'all the question, as G-Money points it out right here. If we were to put the Indiana Pacers going up against the Rockets back-to-back years in 94 and 95, do you think that the Pacers get one of the two NBA titles? Yes or no, and why? Let me know in the comments. Godzilla says, I think in basic stats, Reggie would be that different, but in efficiency, spacing, offensive flow, and consistency, he would be a super Klay Thompson and would have with Curry change the game. Yeah, it's true. It's true. When you look at everything else, when you look at his ability to space the floor, because if you look at today's game, his game is built perfect for today's game. another shooter for Curry to play with. Imagine him on a Golden State. People forget that Reggie was supposed to be a Boston Celtic back in 2007, 2008. Danny Ainge was trying to get him, but Danny Ainge kind of told Reggie Miller too late, and Reggie Miller didn't have enough time to get in shape for the season, so Reggie Miller decided to stay retired. But imagine, Reggie Miller would have played with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett on the Boston Celtics for that 07-08 season. He would have been a part of that dominant team that won the NBA championship against the Lakers. Captain Jack was an X factor. That's correct. That's right. The defenders of that era could not defend him, so now it would be a piece of cake. Yeah, it was tough to guard him. Here's the thing where you put Reggie at a disadvantage. It's when you post him up. Because Reggie Miller, because he can't defend, because he was not that great of a defender, you can get Reggie into foul trouble, and it was a lot easier to score on him when you're able to back him down because, like I said, Reggie has a skinny frame. So if you put him in post-ups, Reggie would have a very difficult time. But to counter that, Reggie would come back on the offensive end and skip across the floor. There would be back screens, and Reggie would fake as if he was going to go to the other side of the floor, and he would relocate to a different spot on the floor to shoot the ball. That's what made Reggie Miller's IQ one of the most underrated in history when it came to getting his shot off. It's his IQ to get open, and he did it in many different ways. I remember Reggie was able to use the baseline very well to get open, and he did a very good job at faking guys. That's all good. I think on that Clippers, it was Doc Rivers who failed as a coach. Yep. Reggie Miller, the Knick killer. Yeah, I like Killer Miller, Knick killer. If the Knicks didn't have to go up against the Pacers or the Bulls, we might have won a few titles because the Knicks had deep teams. But you know what? I'm actually going to do a video on that. And it kind of upsets me about Patrick Ewing because today in the paper, on the New York Post, Charles Oakley actually made a very good point that I didn't even think about until now. And he was talking about Patrick, that as great as Patrick was, you could kind of tell he was pretty much content with the way the season went. Sometimes it didn't seem that way, but it's true. Patrick was a great player, but you can tell that Patrick was not a great leader. Because Patrick has had his moments, and I think the Knicks needed one more piece. But because if you look at the Knicks, they were mentally weak. That was one of their biggest problems. And look, as great as Patrick Ewing is, he's mentally weak. He's mentally weak. Charles Smith, mentally weak. One of the things that those 90s Knicks lacked, you could definitely tell, they lacked mental toughness. They were physical, yeah, no doubt, but they lacked mental toughness. It's true. And that's why I said that I hated when the Knicks traded Xavier McDaniel. I hated it because I knew the Knicks were never going to be the same. Ryan said, I remember he was going for the Mavs that one year when Mark asked him, but Reggie turned it down because of not having enough time. That was another team. I believe Reggie was trying to ask I think Reggie first was almost going to be a Maverick first, and then Reggie got another call late from Danny Ainge. Smash the like and hit that subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. We got 12 people watching, 10 people watching. We got 14 likes. Let's keep getting the likes up. All right, man. We're here celebrating the career of Reggie Miller, why he's not overrated. G-Money says, in my opinion, I think the Pacers would have won in 94, but not 95. I think Indy was deeper than Houston in 94, but Houston had better talent in 95. Hmm. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know about that one. The 94 Indiana Pacers, if they were to eliminate the Knicks, that actually would have been a Cinderella run for the Pacers because they weren't predicted to go deep into the playoffs. And they swept the Magic, I remember, in 94. That was Penny's first year, and that was with Shaq. And Penny said that the 94 Magic couldn't match up with the Indiana Pacers, which is true. The matchups did not favor the Magic at all. And then in the next round, the Hawks ended up winning, 57 games that year? But they lost in 6 games. And that Atlanta Hawks team reminded me of the 2018 Toronto Raptors. Like, nobody was taking Atlanta seriously to go deep into the playoffs, and they got upset. And the Pacers only won 47 games. But like I said before, it's not always how you start, it's how you finish. The Indiana Pacers had the best record in the second half of that season in 94. But that's tough. Would Reggie fare with the Mavericks in Dirk's prime years on those rosters of 05 of 08? Well, Reggie Miller would have had another crack at the title in 06 because the Mavericks did go to the NBA Finals that year. But the 07 Mavs are probably the most embarrassing team, one of the most embarrassing teams to lose an NBA championship. Reggie Miller on the 09 Nuggets could have been nice. True. And you had Chauncey Billups there, so Chauncey would have given Reggie the ball. That's a good one. That would have given the Nuggets more. That would have given the Nuggets more depth, and actually that would have added more shooting. Yeah, the Nuggets would have been more difficult to guard. My bad on the typo, trying to do better. Nah, you're good, Ryan. Isaiah Thomas called the Knicks fake bad boys. It's facts. It's facts, Juanetta, because the Knicks, they tried to become the new bad boys, but they were fake tough. It's true. They weren't the real bad boys. Like, I give the Knicks credit for trying. I give them for trying, but no. Watchful News says, I used to tell guys 2 years ago, the greats Kobe, Jordan, I think he meant Bird, KD, Miller, Kawhi would take basically 2 dribbles inside the 3-point line, then shoot it. They even have drills on doing that. Well, Reggie Miller, when he would practice, either with his team or by himself, Watchful News, what you just mentioned was something that Reggie practiced religiously. He would pump fake, take 2 dribbles, shoot the ball, and he would line them up. He would always aim for the center of the rim. And if you look at a lot of Reggie's 3-point baskets, he's always aiming them at the center of the rim, even with that awkward shot. So that's a good point. All of those guys practice that. From the great mid-range shooters to 3-point shooters to great shooters overall. Don't you think Isaiah would have got the Pacers to a chip if he didn't get fired? That's a tough question. Because when I will say this, they kind of broke their team up when their 2000 team was gone. I think if Isaiah Thomas had the 04 team, the 2004 Pacers, well, I don't know what record he would have coached them to, because Rick Carlisle was able to coach them to the best record in the NBA that year. So that's a I don't know thing. Raduni says, one team I know for sure with Reggie, they would be a champion if it was the Houston Rockets of 2018. You know what? That's a possibility only because Reggie actually gives them a consistent shooter, because the Rockets, they just like to throw bombs unconsciously. My dad just texted me that MJ is going to be on GMA on Thursday. Is that Good Morning America? Reggie playing on the prime Duncan Spurs prime teams. Oh, Reggie would have had a title. Reggie would have had a championship. Keep smashing that like and sub Cash App, guys, for Louis. And like I said, Layla put the Cash App. Like I said, you guys don't have to donate if you would like to. Like I said, you guys are more than welcome to. Again, no obligations. All up to you guys. So, all right. And I'm also going to leave my PayPal as well if you guys would like to. Like I said, as always, you don't have to. Let me just leave it up for a second. Yes, I had a feeling that GMA was Good Morning America. I mentioned it. All right, so I left the PayPal in there if you guys want to. If you guys would like to donate. And again, continue to smash the like button and continue to subscribe to the channel. And Juanetta Thomas says, I wonder if Reggie Miller is going to be on the documentary. Yes, he is. He is going to be on the documentary. If you go to ESPN's channel on YouTube, type in The Last Dance, one of those videos will show Reggie Miller make a cameo appearance on there. So yeah, Ryan says, why LeBron fanboys trying to out media thing? Oh, Jordan's documentary? Oh, easy. But you know what? You see, but this is where LeBron exposes himself again. And I'm glad you mentioned this, Ryan. You know why? Because think about this. This is a 10-part documentary, and it's happening for 5 weeks. Suppose that the NBA season doesn't resume till like July or August or something. Did you know that people who didn't get a chance to see this documentary are going to see this? And remember, it's not just one part, so you're not going to see everything in one day. It's a five week. So you're talking about 5 potential weeks. The problem, as I said, Ryan, before, is that the reason is that don't you? And I don't know if you saw, Ryan, but did you remember when LeBron said that when Jordan's documentary was confirmed by ESPN that it was coming out on April 19th for a first of 5, it's going to be from April 19th to May 17th. He says, I wonder if I should make a DVD of my all-time greatest moments. You notice in the documentary, they're going to talk about Jordan's failures too, right? But notice how LeBron only talked about his greatest moments. So it's probably only going to have the good stuff. And then Gonzo, Nick Wrong, was putting up all of LeBron's performances, as the greatest of all time and all this kind of stuff, and was talking about how he's 6-2 in Game 7s and NBA playoff history, and that LeBron is more clutch than people really give him credit for. And I said, I never said that the guy wasn't, okay? He plays big in big games, but there's some games that are just as big, even if they're not Game 7, and guess what? He's played poorly or he quits. So here's my question. If you want to talk about Game 7s, why didn't he play big in Game 4 in 2011 against the Dallas Mavericks? How did you go scoreless in the fourth quarter and only had 8 points in an NBA Finals game? How is it that you were tied for the 5th most points in the fourth quarter with your teammates Mario Chalmers and Udonis Haslem? How did Chris Bosh, how did Dirk Nowitzki, how did Dwayne Wade, and how did Jason Terry, all those 4 men, average more points and scored more total points than you did in the fourth quarter in 6 games? See, but they're not going to mention that. And like I said, you guys go check out my video if you haven't on where I expose LeBron and on LeBron and a lot of these stats they don't want to hide. I mean, I ethered the LeBron fanboy so bad that nobody really showed up. And shout out to Jay, because all he said was, huh, all I hear is crickets. Shout out to Rick Feed, wherever you are. He said, thank you for going in. And then Stephen A., LeBron's got an opportunity to catch Michael Jordan as a brand. How? How? Think about this, folks. Michael Jordan's been retired 17 years, and his shoes sold $98 million more than LeBron James' shoes did in 2019. $130 million to $32 million. LeBron's playing in 17 seasons, and yet your shoe total in revenue was nowhere near Michael Jordan's, and he's been retired for 17 years. Again, who's the GOAT? Okay, that's like saying, for example, you go to a girl's house. My apologies, ladies, but I just think that this is the reference that makes a lot of sense. This is like going to a girl's house. You went 6 times to your girl's house. Shout out to Freddie G. You go to your girl's house 6 times. How many times did you smash it from behind? 6 times. So you went 6 for 6. That means you're 100, right? That means 100%. Every time you've gone, you got it done. You go to your girl's house or a girl's house 9 times, but you only smashed 3 times. You went to the house more times than the person that did 6, but you smashed less. So then I asked you again, who was the GOAT? And again, I apologize, ladies, but I think that was a good reference in terms of comparing 3 and 6, 3, 2, 6, and then 3 and 6. Yes. So we continuing to talk about Reggie Miller. The guy had in my opinion, it was an underrated but yet a very great career. It was a great career that doesn't get talked about enough. I'm happy that he got to make the Hall of Fame with his sister, because Reggie definitely belongs there. Raduni says LeBron James is a narcissist. He do too many stuff to get attention. Listen, man, this is what I can't stand. Listen, part of it is the media's fault, and I get it because they nitpick just about anything. But at the same time, it's like, LeBron, man, just don't say anything, dude. Don't say anything. When you say that he's not overrated, what exactly are we comparing? Well, with Reggie Miller, we're talking about the era that he played in, and what he was able to accomplish with what he really didn't have as an offensive player. So that's what we're talking about with Reggie Miller. G Money says, in your opinion, do you think that Kyrie Irving and Ray Allen saved LeBron's legacy in 2016? Okay, I'm going to break this down as much as possible. LeBron James did score 16 points in that fourth quarter. Said that a million times. The biggest mistake on Ray Allen's 3 was Greg Popovich. So people could talk about Ray Allen saving LeBron's legacy, but let's be really, really, really honest. If it wasn't for Greg Popovich not substituting Tim Duncan, Chris Bosh would not have gotten that rebound. So Ray Allen's 3 goes for sure. Even if LeBron hit the 3 that cut the game to 3. Now, I'm not going to sit here and not ignore those turnovers, but then you have to talk about the missed free throws that the Spurs had down the stretch. So it was a little bit of everything. But let's be honest. If Tim Duncan is in the basketball game, the Spurs are the NBA champions. But Greg Popovich's mistake cost him. By not having Tim Duncan in the game, it really cost him. So I can't say that it was gonna save LeBron's legacy. I can't say that. 2016. So, and LeBron did ball out in Game 7, so I got to give LeBron credit for that. But so many factors happened in that 2013 Game 6 that cost the Spurs that basketball game. And even then, so the Spurs had a chance to win and to tie, because Skip could say they shot him in the heart, but he makes it sound like if the Spurs weren't even competitive in Game 7, they were. They had a chance. Still had a chance to win. They didn't win, but they should have won the NBA championship. in Game 6. It's just Greg Popovich made the mistake. So to be honest with you, yeah, Ray Allen made the shot, and yeah, he could have missed. But like I said, Ray Allen would have never gotten that opportunity had Tim Duncan been in the game. 2016. I don't even want to get into that, to be honest, because there's guys on that team that don't get enough credit for that 2016 triumph. LeBron is obviously going to get the praise because he's the best player on the team, and he's obviously the superstar. What I don't like is that the media acts like he did it all by himself. And yeah, he led every single statistical category, but LeBron was not the reason that the series changed. It was Kyrie Irving. I know some people feel that Kyrie Irving deserved the MVP. Me personally, I would have given a co-MVP for Kyrie and LeBron. That's just me. Everybody's different, but I would have given them a co-MVP. All right. Yeah, sorry. Braun smashed Downs and NJ smashed Mud Ducks. There's a difference. Yeah, according to you. Appreciate it, Yusuke. Do you think Miller is a good color commentator? I think he's good. And G Money says Reggie Miller was the man of his time. Yeah, Reggie is fantastic. Yeah, I enjoy listening to Reggie. I mean, Reggie knows the game. And Reggie's funny as hell, man, especially if you listen to him on open court. Spurs would have won back-to-back. Exactly. In the final, your best player needs to be on the court, man. It's true. Or someone boxes out Chris Bosh to force an over-the-back foul. If the Spurs make their free throws or just rebound the dang ball, it would have been a wrap. 2016, LeBron snitched on Draymond because they would have gentlemen swept. If Tim Duncan made the bucket in Game 7 at the end, the Spurs would have tied the game, and who knows what would have happened. It's true, because then Game 6 gets forgotten. Well, you can't forget it because it's still a part of history in terms of what happened. But my point is, Game 6 wouldn't have made much of an impact as Game 7 would have did had the Spurs possibly gone there. And he says, yeah, Reggie Miller is a good storyteller. Oh, absolutely. I enjoy listening to stories about Reggie. You know, Reggie's one of a kind, man. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before I go, I just want to tell you guys what's happening, you know, what I'm going to plan on doing this week. So, as you can see right here in the overlay, where it says winning time, Reggie Miller versus the New York Knicks. Remember, Michael Jordan's 1998 season, The Last Dance, is coming out on Sunday. 10-part documentary, 5 weeks, 5 Sundays, starting on April 19th at 9 o'clock. Parts 1 and 2, you can see that on ESPN. What I'm going to tell you is that for this week, I am going to be doing a classic Eastern Conference Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the Indiana Pacers to commemorate that 1998 season, The Last Dance, one of the most classic 7-game series in NBA playoff history. I'm going to do all 7 games as a tribute to Reggie Miller and Michael Jordan. These guys competed at the highest level. I respect the hell out of both guys for what they brought. And Watchful News says, 2016 Braun went for the dunk on Iggy and sprawled onto the floor for 72 minutes, got a chase down, but Kyrie hit that go-ahead. Then Braun clanked the first of 2, hit the second. A co-MVP was in order. I said that should have been an MVP, co-MVP. In your opinion, had the Pacers won Game 4 in 2000 and hypothetically tied the series, do you think they upset the Lakers and win the chip? No, I say Lakers in 7. And we got a couple of live streams coming up, guys. We have Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan, who had the better career. I think it brings interesting debate. A lot of people have been disrespecting Tim Duncan as of late, and I'm not happy about it. So definitely going to give Timmy Tim his respect. With Kobe, I think it's going to be an interesting debate. And I think I'm going to have a panel for that one. So I want to have a panel for the Kobe and Duncan. Like I said, I'm going to be commemorating the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals for Reggie and Michael. So I'll be doing all seven games as a tribute for them for the Last Dance documentary is coming out. And like I said, Reggie Miller does make a cameo appearance in there. So if you guys are going to watch that, make sure you tune in to ESPN to watch it at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Sunday, April 19th is the start. We have April 26th, May 3rd, May 10th, and May 17th is the last one. So we have that. And I'm also thinking about doing another NBA Jeopardy as well. I just have to figure out the topic, and I'm going to try to see if I can do my own questions. But people, please do not complain that you got this, that you typed yours in first, because I was on another live stream trying to play the same game. I was on one of my boys' channels, and I was typing my answers first so much, and I was still not getting, and it was not coming up first on his end. That's what was crazy. And here's the thing, with that's why I said that when people complain about, I type mine first, it's like, there's nothing I can do about it. It's what my screen shows. So it was the same thing when I was on my friend's channel. Every time I was typing the answer and I would type it in first, it wasn't showing up first. For some reason, I was late. So, and it's like, you just gotta, Ryan Newsom says, are you gonna talk live about the documentary after it ends? Would you like for me to talk about the documentary after it ends? I can do all 5 parts. So I could talk every Sunday. What I could do is I could talk about it on that Sunday night, or I could talk about it the following day after. So make sure that you guys tune in. And actually, I'm going to have a panel for that. We could talk about, like, what are things that you enjoyed? What did you get out of, the documentary, at least in those parts? What are you looking forward to in the other parts of the documentary coming up? So, I definitely want to have a panel for that. Let me know what you guys think. I got wrestling content coming out soon as well. Going to be doing some AEW for those who are into AEW wrestling. I think AEW is killing it with their, empty arena, with their empty arena matches and how they're doing their promos. I'm really looking forward to the no holds barred matchup between Jake Hager against Jon Moxley. So, like I said, if you're a wrestling fan, make sure you guys pull up. You guys pull up on Wednesday as we do AEW talk with the Louis Sports Network. And again, let other people know about the channel. Again, please like the videos and continue to subscribe. Hopefully we could get this channel to 1K. And like I said, man, I appreciate everybody always continuing to show support. And let me just look in the comments. So shout out to Juanetta. So I'm going to be doing the documentary reaction a day after. So I will do live comments I'll do a live stream on the documentary. Documentary. Okay. Can't wait until the consistent disrespect starts with LeBron. Bronsexuals will be rolling in. That's why it's best to be respectful, guys. All our new guys will eventually get old too. All right. No doubt, Ryan. Appreciate it. Godzilla says the AEW effect. All right. So with Kobe and Tim Duncan, that's like apples and oranges. Here's the difficult thing about both those players. You're comparing a power forward to a 2-guard. If Kobe played the same position as Tim Duncan and was at least Tim Duncan's height or a little bit bigger, then you can make a comparison. Or if Tim Duncan was a shooting guard like Kobe Bryant, then you can make a comparison. But it's difficult. It's difficult to do that. Because each player is going to have certain advantages over the other in certain categories. And it also depends on your personal preference. as much as I loved Kobe because of the flash and pizzazz he brought him, that doesn't mean that I got to hate on Tim Duncan. For what? Tim Duncan is one of the most underrated, disrespected all-time greats in NBA history. I got that man number 7 on my list. You can put him at 6 or 7, but that's where Tim Duncan falls. For me, some people would have him in the top 5. That's would have him at number 5. I'm not going to argue with that. That's completely fine. Again, it's all subjective. It's your personal opinion. Some people think that Tim Duncan had the luxury of playing with David Robinson and had Greg Popovich as soon as he came in. Some people say that if Tim Duncan is not there, the Spurs would not be the champions that they would have ended up being, winning championships. And you can make the cases for both. And it's kind of the same thing with Kobe. But it's like you got to give Kobe credit for being able to win championships with 2 different rosters. You were with a top 10 all-time great, and then you were able to help turn Gasol into a multiple-time All-Star. And Gasol made All-NBA teams, something he did not do when he was in Memphis. He made 1 All-Star team, but he had no All-NBAs. He made 3 when he played with Kobe. Andrew Bynum made an All-NBA team, and Andrew Bynum also was an All-Star. So this notion that Kobe has always been nothing but a ball hog and always been terrible to his teammates, you can make that case in the early years with Kobe and Shaq, but it's a much more difficult case to make with the teams that Kobe was on with championship teams. Kobe has said it, that it was his favorite group to play with from 07 all the way to 2010-11. So there's arguments could be made for both, to be honest. So G Money says, do you think the Pacers knock off the Blazers in 2000 had Portland not choked in Game 7 in LA? No, I got Portland winning the championship because I think they're too deep and they have the post play with Rasheed Wallace. And like the Pacers, they have the shooting depth. And you're putting Mark Jackson against Damian Stoudemire. That's a bit of a nightmare. Damian Stoudemire could take Mark Jackson in the open court. I will say that's an interesting matchup with Reggie Miller and Steve Smith. Scottie Pippen would be guarding him, or they might put Bonzi Wells off the bench to guard. The Blazers had the more depth than the Pacers did. Just me personally. Okay, he says, I'll be here on the documentary live show. All right, perfect, Ryan, no doubt. It's a typo, don't respond. Type in one hand. Layla says, where have you been at, man? You haven't been around the last few live streams. Please don't, I'm not mad at you, bro. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Me too, Ryan, I'll try it. I like Kobe, but I think Duncan had a better career. Timmy D never missed the playoffs in his career and won 50 games in the regular season every year but the 99 season. Tim Duncan is so disrespected. No question he's disrespected. Tim Duncan was always the best player on his team. I respect both of the players. They had great careers. Kobe was just louder. Yeah, Kobe learned to leave his ego aside after Shaq was traded. Duncan was more fundamental, and Kobe was Mike-like. He said, I'll definitely be there, no doubt. The only thing I will say is that the West was stacked with power forwards in the early 2000s. Duncan, KG, Dirk, Chris Webber, Elton Brand, Amari, and Carlos Boozer later. No, yeah, it's true. But that's why I continue to say that it was still a big man's game, with the exception of 2004, the finals MVP was won by a point guard. 2006, a shooting guard won the MVP. And then 2008, where Paul Pierce, who was a small forward, won the finals MVP. But if you look at 2000 to 2003, then 2005, you also have to look at 2007. You had 2 point guards. And the crazy part is in this decade, more big men won finals MVP than the other players that won NBA championships in the 2000s. Shaq and Duncan had 5 of them combined. It took Kobe, Pierce, Parker, Billups, and Wade. Shaq and Duncan combined have 5. Each of them have 1. Just saying, man. Definitely be there. Oh, I see. He's with the military. Got you. All right, guys. Continue to let others know about the channel. It would have been hard for Powell to consistently make the West All-Star teams. It's true. I mean, Gasol numbers, they were good, but they weren't like crazy. Because the thing is, if you look at the power forwards in the West, a lot of guys were averaging in their 20s. Garnett was averaging 20. Tim Duncan was averaging 20. Dirk Nowitzki was averaging 20. All of those guys were in their prime. That's the thing. Elton Brand, Omari Stoudemire, who was entering his prime. So, yeah, it was difficult for Powell to be able to make those all-star teams. But, hey, I appreciate you guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so going to put an end to this stream. This is a very solid one. I appreciate everybody. Layla says, are you stationed in Alaska? I'm talking to someone stationed there. Oh, wow. I hope everything is okay over there in Alaska, with whoever's over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call an end to this stream. I appreciate everybody for showing support, coming through. As I always say with the Louis Sports Network, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys are sharing the streams. And I appreciate you guys. So once again, this was your boy Louis with another one. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Stay safe. Don't do anything I would do. Like I said, try to keep yourselves busy. We can't let this thing get us in, with insanity. Ryan says, how long are your live streams? It usually depends. If I have a panel, those live streams could run 2-3 hours deep. So it's really going to depend. If I'm doing a game, that's also going to run 2+ hours deep too. And then usually I either do, great stream, brother, as always, even though I came through late. No doubt, it's all good. Your Army, he's one of those who drop from the sky. All right. So yeah, it usually depends, Ryan, but usually I could do short streams like this where they could be an hour. Usually also depends on how many people are watching too. So we had a decent amount of people watching. Hopefully I could get more of those up. They had a scary drill though. Whew. Reggie Miller is one of the greatest clutch players ever. That's a fact. Greatest shooters, greatest clutch players ever. OMG, Vegas, OKC, okay. All right, have a good night, guys. So yeah, Ryan, so to answer your question, my live streams could extend anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, and they might even reach 4. But it usually depends if I have a panel. I mean, my last 2 live streams, when I had people on the panel, they've gone over 3 hours. 2.5 to 3 hours. So it depends. But streams like this one, I could go for like about an hour, 45 minutes at the most. But it also always depends on the topic too. So, but again, much respect to the legendary Reggie Miller. If you know anybody who is an Indiana Pacers fan, make sure to let them know about this video. And I appreciate everybody, man. So from the Louis Sports Network, have a wonderful night. And as always, bless up, live, laugh, love. Thank y'all for watching. Like, share, always subscribe. Appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful night. And we will be back tomorrow. All right, let's get it. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Continue to share these videos, like, and subscribe.